Is this thing on? Yeah? Ha-ha! I'm back, babies!
G'day Earthlings, Dr. Rank here, and welcome to Gaming Legends, the show that finally has its mojo back. So far, Crash Bandicoot has played 8 separate games without using his signature spin attack, and also managed to get the gold relic from start to finish in XS. Turns out I just had to belly flop in the right spot. So it's no wonder that by the time we get to the Radical Entertainment era, he's completely forgotten how to use it. And it's my job to make sure he never remembers. Can you beat Crash of the Titans without collecting mojo? Is the video I wanted to make, but turns out even my sanity is too fragile for that. I got all the way up to episode 4, and it was absolutely miserable. So instead, I've decided to relax a little and give this Crash Bandicoot game a little more Crash Bandicoot. Can you beat Crash of the Titans without the Titans? For those who don't know, Titans are large enemies with a variety of powerful attacks. After dealing enough damage to a Titan, Crash is able to take control of them for himself, an action referred to as jacking. Our goal is to beat the PAL-Wii version of the game while jacking as few Titans as possible. We can thankfully keep track of exactly how many Titans we've used via the jacks counter in the Crash's stats menu. If we ever jack an unnecessary Titan, we must immediately reset the console and reload our save file. The run is complete when we reach the end of episode 20 on hard mode. And as a bonus challenge, we'll also be going for the highest possible completion percentage. Without further ado, let's get this run finally started. Episode 1, A New Hop, is pretty standard for the most part. The majority of the level is dedicated to Crash himself, which is how we'll be playing most of the game anyway. We can also get the first few collectibles with no issues. Each level has a hidden pink voodoo doll that unlocks concept art, as well as a Mojo Room challenge that gives you a blue voodoo doll when completed. In this case, the challenge is just to collect 5,000 green mojo, of which Crash is more than capable. Speaking of mojo, it acts as EXP, unlocking new abilities and upgrades for Crash as we collect it. 2 early unlocks are the Norris Roundhouse and, gasp in horror, Spin Attack, which are amazing at building up combos for the Combo King bonus. The more mojo we have, the easier battles will become. Halfway through the level, we reunite with Aku Aku and unlock the ability to block enemy attacks. As you can imagine, the ability to not get hit is a welcome commodity, especially on hard mode. Soon after, we reach the first Titan, a Spike. You're normally supposed to jack this guy and use his attacks to break down this wall. Crash's attacks are, of course, too weak to do this, so how about we go over the wall instead? Say hello to our secret weapon, Carbon Crash. Co-op multiplayer in this game isn't quite as broken as it was in LEGO City Undercover, but it does allow for at least one useful glitch, the boost jump. If Crash presses the action button when there's nothing to interact with, he'll jump into Carbon Crash's backpack. If Carbon Crash pauses the game during the backpack entry animation and then drops out, Crash will be given a massive height boost. You'll get the most height from this if Carbon Crash drops out just before Crash teleports above him, and you can get even more height by having Carbon Crash join back in at the peak of the boost. Unfortunately, because we skipped that wall, none of the enemies in this area will spawn, preventing us from removing the Uka barrier blocking the path. Fortunately, we can use another boost jump at its right edge to just barely get over it. We can also use a boost jump to go through this tree at the end of the level, officially completing episode 1 with 0 jacks. Just beating the level isn't enough though. To get a gold medal, we need to complete all 3 bonus objectives in one go. The Minion Master objective in this level requires 65 Ratnition corpses, and there's only about 45 in the level that we can fight. Fortunately, dying or falling out of bounds respawns all enemies in the current battle, while still retaining your current minion count. If we leave at least one Ratnition in the group alive, we can respawn his friends infinitely. The only episode 1 collectibles I couldn't get were the Spike Invo and Spike Skin, both of which require you to jack spikes. Episode 2, A Succumbing to Age story, has a rock wall that you're supposed to clear out with a gore. If you boost jump from the left side, you can sail over it. Soon after is our first projectile titan.
I found the snipe!
Oh, did you?
The snipe is the only thing that can hit the targets and fill in the gaps in the bridge. But why bother with that? Instead, boost jump to get some extra height, then mash the jump button to spin hover all the way across the gap. The Mojo Room, however, is not so forgiving. To beat it, we have to destroy all 7 bombs, ideally with the snipe's projectiles. While snipes normally shoot towards Crash on their own, this particular snipe seems to be a pacifist. I was able to jump up to destroy 1 bomb with a damage boost, but only the 1. Of course I tried using a boost jump, but it just caused the room to reset entirely. So it looks like we'll be leaving this level without the blue doll. Episode 3, A Zero's Journey, has an even less possible Mojo Room. We have to defeat all the enemies, but they won't spawn unless we jack the gore. But let's keep this room in the back of our mind. For now, we've got a pretty big roadblock in the level proper. This door will only open when all 4 targets are destroyed. Of course I tried going over the door, but it's too tall even for a boost jump. None of Crash's attacks can destroy targets, so we have to use a snipe. But why bother controlling the snipe ourselves? All that matters is that the projectile hits the target. If you put Crash between the snipe and the target right as it fires, you can bait them into shooting the target for you. This strategy can also be used to get the second Spybot, which is out of reach for the Bandicoots. This area also has the pink doll behind a large crate that Crash can't break, but it's close enough that a spin attack will attract it towards you. We could finish this arena battle by having the snipe shoot all the Ratnicians, but that would take forever. Boost jumping over the Uka barrier is much easier. The next battle is the perfect opportunity to farm Ratnician kills. You're supposed to use a gore to get rid of this rubble, but we don't need to deal with that. If you boost jump into a ceiling, for example under this tree, you can clip out of bounds, allowing you to go through the wall and around the rubble. Now we can move on to episode 4, the Temple of Zoom. This first room involves hitting one switch to summon a spike, then using it to knock down a wall and reach a second switch to summon a snipe. Luckily, a colorblind programmer at Radical Entertainment forgot to put up a fence, letting you just jump straight around it. What's even funnier about this is that a not-so-colorblind programmer at Supervillain Studios noticed their mistake and added an invisible wall in the PSP version. After tricking the snipe into shooting the targets for us, we can unlock the final non-Mojo upgrade in the run, the Aku Air Grind. It won't be that useful in combat, but it will greatly enhance our mobility. The Mojo Room in this episode requires us to collect 3 free jack masks. The one on the left is on a stack of 2 large boxes, and Crash can't jump that high. But he can use a mid-air spin hover to attract the mask towards him. The mask on the right, meanwhile, is inside a box, and only Titans can break it. Luckily, we can bait the spikes into breaking it for us, banking our second blue doll. At the end of the level is the boss fight against Cortex and the Yuctopus. In order to win this battle and thus finish the level, we have to destroy all of the pillars, which can only be done with the Yuctopus's Tentacle Slap or Mojo Blast. I tried baiting the octopus into hitting the pillars for me, but because he was still AI controlled, they didn't respond. We have no choice but to jack the octopus, which means
You fail.
And just jacking the octopus in the first place is the hard part. It's completely immune to Crash's light attacks, and his heavy attacks only deal 1 star worth of damage. You're supposed to use spikes and gores to jack your way up the food chain, but that would require at least 2 extra jacks. We are absolutely not beating this boss in our current state. We're gonna need
Upgrades, people, upgrades!
Exit the level from the pause menu to save your progress and head back to episode 3. We need a lot of mojo very quickly, and there just so happens to be an infinite supply in the episode 3 mojo room. Gores can't take damage from the Aku Air Grind, but they can legally be hit by it, which counts towards our combo. Whenever the combo reaches a multiple of 10, we automatically receive that many mojo times 10. So 10 hits gives us 100 mojo, 20 hits gives us 200, and so on and so forth and what have you. If you surf on the gore's back in just the right spot, you can get stuck inside it and build up an infinite combo, earning thousands of mojo in a matter of seconds. This not only lets us unlock every single upgrade in one fell swoop, but also gives us a bunch of extra lives, which is good news because we're playing on hard mode. Among the upgrades we unlocked are Infinite Spin Time, which makes Combo King much easier to achieve, and the Triple Dragon, a heavy attack combo that deals 3 hits in a row that can each be individually charged. Have both players attack the octopus with it from opposite sides, and you should be able to whittle its health down. Once the octopus is finally stunned, jack it and start wrecking stuff. Keep in mind that if the octopus dies while riding it, you'll have to jack it all over again, raising the jacks counter by 1 and ruining your save file. I recommend using Carbon Crash as a distraction, luring enemies away while you're busy attacking the pillars. Once the last pillar falls, you've officially completed episode 4 with 1 jack. And I hope you got gold in that attempt, because once you finish this level once, you're never allowed to finish it again. Episode 5, the Emerald Pity, is the easiest level in the game. The Mojo Room just involves kicking koalas into bombs with free jack masks, and the only Titan in the level proper is a single Rhino Roller that you don't even need. Episode 6, Don't Eat the Yellow Brick Load, opens with a wall that has to be knocked down by hitting 4 targets. You could either beta snipe into shooting them for you, or you could boost jump around it. The latter is preferable. Just after the waterfall is the perfect location for koala farming. The Mojo Room tasks you with defeating all enemies, and while you're supposed to use a Rhino Roller, it's completely possible with just Crash. The rollers can go down easily with the Chin Tickler and Board Slam combos. The next area has a rock fall that only a jacked roller can destroy, but we can just boost jump over it. Soon after is a giant metal door that you're supposed to destroy with a Shellephant. Unfortunately, the door's hitbox extends much further up than others due to the Shellephant's height. There is an alternative boost jump method that gives you even more height, performed by having Carbon Crash exit the backpack and then immediately jumping into him from below. Unfortunately, this version of the boost jump is exclusive to the American version of the game, and this is a photo of all the NTSC compatible consoles that I own. But don't start browsing eBay just yet, there's another route that's still viable on the PAL version. Do a regular boost jump onto the roof of this house, then use another to get out of bounds and go around the door. And the second one is even easier to deal with. Just walk straight through the hinge! Episode 7, The Blizzard of Claws, starts out pretty rough. The very first doorway is blocked by a rock fall, forcing you to use a Magmadon. The dome around it is solid from almost every angle. Keyword almost. If you stand right here, you can clip through the dome with a boost jump and start the level proper. The power cells here can't be destroyed by Crash's attacks, but an AI Magmadon serves the job well. There's a spybot here over the lava that you're supposed to destroy with a mounted Magmadon. Instead, send Carbon Crash in as a Bandicoot sacrifice. After getting 5,000 green mojo in the Mojo Room and baiting another snipe into hitting a target, we reach the boss fight against Tony Tiger. After using a spin hover to snag the pink doll, we can boost jump from the barrels to get over the gate, or trick a snipe into shooting it down for us. Either way though, we have to get past multiple rock walls that only a Shellephant can clear out. You can get over them with a boost jump, but only if you time everything absolutely perfectly. A more consistent strategy I found was to stand to the left of the rock and boost jump around and behind the wall. You'll have to repeat this trick multiple times in a row, and you don't have much time before the ground crumbles beneath you. After about an hour of attempts, I finally managed to reach Tony, and Crashworth, where did you get that Shellephant? Oh relax, you're still only at 1 jack. Episode 8, Life's a Beach, introduces the Stench, but doesn't even use it for anything. The only required Titan is a Gore to enter the cave at the end, but we already know required is in quotation marks. The hard part is the Mojo Room, which is another genocide run. All the enemies spawn right at the start, but the time limit is pretty tight. Titans aren't legally dead until a few seconds after they disappear or until they're jacked. Basketball rules don't apply here. When that timer hits 0, the mortally wounded get no recognition. Use the free jack masks to take out the gore, board slams on the rhino rollers, and spin the stench's shots back at them for one-hit KOs. Once everything is stunned, attack your most recent victim to make them die faster, and you should just barely be able to beat the clock. Episode 9, Operation Overboard, has a tough battle right at the start. Leaving this arena requires the destruction of a gate that can only be broken with a Scorporilla. After getting Combo King from the first batch of Doom Monkeys, boost jump up to the ledge with the first Spybot, then do another boost jump to get past the gate. The Mojo Room is another bomb shooting mission, but this time every single bomb has a crate nearby. We can use these crates as a footstool to blow up each bomb with damage boosts. The timer is pretty strict and the crate piles don't provide the most stable footing, but it is just barely possible. The end of the level introduces sludges whom we can completely ignore. Grab the Spybot in the toxic waste, then boost jump over the Uka barrier into the exit. The opening battle of episode 10, A Sludge Too Far, rips off the kid gloves and replaces them with tribal tattoos. Sludges are absolutely OP. Their light attacks are quick and long-reaching, they can do a surprise uppercut at almost any time, their Toxic Bomb special deals constant poison damage, and they have enough stamina to survive a board slam. Now take all of those problems and multiply them by 6! And if you die at any point, or accidentally surf into the ocean like an idiot, you have to fight those same sludges all over again. My strategy was to use one Bandicoot as a distraction while the other outflanked them for a sneak attack. Bonus points if I could engineer some toxic Vom friendly fire, since the colorblind programmer at Radical Entertainment gave sludges the corrosion ability. With the next batch of sludges, completely ignore them and run straight to the Mojo Room. Oh, what's that? There's even more sludges here? And they've teamed up with Magmadons, Snipes, Stenches, Gores, and Rhino Rollers? And we have to kill all of them within 2.5 minutes? Piece of cake. There's like 4 free jack masks here, and while 2 of them are behind walls, you can grab them from a distance with the Wiimote cursor. In the final area, boost jump to reach all 3 Spybots, then do another one into Engine's butt to finish the level. Episode 11, Shock and Awesome, has several ice walls that you're supposed to destroy with a Ratsicle. You can convince some of them to break the ice for you, but in most cases you're better off boost jumping over them. That also includes the one in the office area leading to the pink doll, though the final wall in the shower will actually be destroyed by the AI Ratsicles with 100% consistency. The Mojo Room is sadly impossible as it requires the destruction of a gate with a Shellephant. My attempts to boost jump around the gate were fruitless, and even if I could, the doll probably wouldn't spawn anyway. Episode 12, Weapons of Mass Construction, has both generators and targets for Ratsicles to destroy. Just let the AI do all the work for you. The Mojo Room is another Green Mojo mission, this time featuring Rhino Rollers. They are completely optional. Then we get to Episode 13, Doom Raker. The Mojo Room here involves collecting free jack masks, and we have some Ratsicles we can lure into breaking the boxes for us. However, each path in the main level ends with a door leading back to the central hub, with the first requiring the destruction of 2 targets. One of these targets is out of reach for the Ratsicles' attacks, and surviving the Raticle Barbershop Quartet long enough to see a stench is not within my budget. You might think we could just skip straight to the final room from the hub, but the loading zones here are context sensitive, always sending you down each path in order. Thankfully, we can boost jump up to the gear, go through the gap in the wall, and enter the door from behind. The door on the second path is blocked by a wall of goo, which can only be cleared by a Sludge's heavy attack or toxic bomb. And as I found out the hard way, it has to be a jacked Sludge's attacks. Good thing we can boost jump around this wall too. Engine is the easiest boss in the game, requiring only 3 targets. The Sludge's slaps can break the center and right target, after which a stench will appear. Boost jump above the left target and let the stench fire. Once all the targets are down, you don't even have to fight the remaining enemies. Just die a painful death and let Nolan North work his magic. Episode 14, Family Tree, has an impossible Mojo Room. You have to defeat 25 voodoo bunnies, but none of them will spawn until you jack the Scorporilla. Oh well, mojo rooms don't count towards the minion skins anyway. The main level, meanwhile, introduces the single most dangerous titan in the entire game, the Battler. These guys are ludicrously aggressive, especially on hard mode, and their special attack can kill you in one hit. Absolutely never fight battlers en masse. Try to take them one-on-one with a fully charged triple dragon. You can, of course, skip fighting them with boost jumps, but good luck meeting the minion master quota if you do. Conversely, boost jump skips are highly recommended in episode 15, Calamityville Horror. There's plenty of voodoo bunnies to go around, and no incentive to fight sludges and battlers at the same time. The mojo room is a bit more interesting though. It tasks us with defeating all enemies and fails the mission if the starting Scorporilla dies. But unlike other such missions, the enemies still spawn without jacking her, and are still vulnerable to Crash's attacks. The issue is that they take a while to officially die, and the next wave of enemies doesn't spawn until the current wave is fully cleared. This mojo room doesn't seem possible at the moment, but let's put a pin in that. Episode 16, Timber Trials, took me 3 tries to get the gold medal. Voodoo bunnies in this level are extremely finite, so much so that it's the hardest level to get Minion Master in. The first arena has about 12 that spawn 3 at a time, so if you kill 9 and die, they should still reset to the first wave. But if you let all 12 die, which is incredibly easy with all the rhino rollers rhino rolling around, they won't respawn at all for the rest of the level. As for the level itself, the chain barriers can all be cleared with boost jump shenanigans, though an AI Scorporilla can still damage them. The mojo room has 2 Scorporillas and a Shellephant to kill, all of which are immune to Crash's light attacks. Luckily, there are exactly 3 free jack masks in this mojo room, which is just enough to kill all 3 in an instant. Episode 17, Adult Education, is the hardest level in the game. These moving platforms can only activate once the generator on the other side is destroyed. In a normal playthrough, you jack an E-Electric and shoot the generator from a distance. I was able to just barely hit the first 2 with an AI E-Electric shots, but the third is too far out of reach. The nearest electric doesn't have a clear shot from here, being unable to shoot around the corner. A similar situation occurs at the end of the level too, with the final generator being too far from the nearest electric. Of course, I tried boost jumping over, but they only give you height, not distance. The other side is just too far away, even for the NTSC exclusive Boost Jump Mark II. A Titanless route through this level has already been theorized, involving the use of the Aku Air Grind. If you surf from the edge, you have just barely enough space to land on the bomb from above, which allows you to refresh your jump and reach the next bomb and land on the other side. However, it's only been proven possible in a task setting with the use of save states. Since bombs don't respawn when you die, you only get 1 attempt. If you mess up the bomb explosion, you have to start the level all over again. Unfortunately, I have a life! In the interest of preserving my sanity and getting this video out in a timely fashion, I bit the bullet and jacked an E-Electric. Since it debuted in this episode, that does mean we get the chance to unlock the E-Electric info. But when I beat the level the first time, I didn't unlock it, despite clearly having jacked one. Thanks to the colorblind programmer at Radical Entertainment, the E-Electric info only unlocks if you jack the first E-Electric specifically. After all, there's no reason you should be able to skip that E-Electric, right? The need for an E-Electric also prevents us from entering the mojo room. Not that we can clear it anyway. 7 of the bombs are within reach of a Bandicoot's body, but the 8th is inside a giant crate. The starting E-Electric refuses to shoot that box, and no other enemies will spawn until we jack it. At the end of the level is the boss fight with Uka Uka. The win condition is the destruction of 3 generators, which only a player-controlled Uka can accomplish. We have no choice but to jack him. Since we're already riding an E-Electric anyway, we may as well use its special attack to fill half his stun gauge, spamming projectiles for the rest. But if you somehow manage to lose your eel, all hope is not lost. Uka can still take damage from Crash's heavy attacks, and if both players stand right behind his feet, he'll completely ignore you until he's completely stunned. We're not quite out of the woods yet though. Whenever a generator is destroyed, Crash is instantly forced off Uka, who then has to be stunned and jacked all over again, which legally counts as an extra jack. But you can't get forced off a Titan if you're not on a Titan, can you? Fire Uka's Optic Blast at a generator, then manually dismount him just before the first bullet connects. He'll still be stunned after the generator is destroyed, letting you remount him instantly without incrementing the jacks counter any further. Once the last generator is down, you've officially completed episode 17 with only 3 jacks on the counter. Though, as I said, 2 is theoretically possible. Episode 18, War of the Worlds, is thankfully much simpler. All the gates blocking the hallways can be cleared just by boost jumping through the ceiling. The ballroom is a bit harder to skip, but you can boost jump up to the Electric's perch, then boost jump through the wall to bypass the Uka barrier. The minion master quota is pretty tight in this level though, so I recommend farming Brat Girls in the foyer using the Mojo Room to reset them. As for the Mojo Room itself, all the free jack masks we need to collect are out in the open, and the one on the left can be reached by backflipping over the boxes. Meanwhile, the Mojo Room in episode 19, Minority Rapport, is impossible, as we can't destroy the bombs hiding in crates. The only issue in the level proper is a goo wall that blocks the doorway. The wall above it is completely solid, and the back wall leads directly to the kill plane. Luckily, we can boost jump onto the fence, then boost jump again to go over. There is some molten iron in the cauldrons that only a Magmadon can stand in, but none of it stands in our way. The elevators at the end also house my favourite Bratgirl farm. Jump far enough to aggravate the first wave, and they'll do their best lemming impression. We've finally reached episode 20, Revengeance II, the Revengicide. Remember when I said episode 17 was the hardest level in the game?
That was a lie. I apologize for that.
Bad news, the Mojo Room explicitly requires us to jack a Scorporilla. Worst news, another one greets us in the first arena. We can use a boost jump to reach the pink doll, but the walls of the arena are too tall to bypass the Uka barrier. The barrier disappears when all the Brat Girls are dead, but the colorblind programmer at Radical Entertainment forbade them from spawning until we jack either a Battler or a Scorporilla. This would be a simple matter in the NTSC version, as we could just use Boost Jump Mark II to sail right over. But we're not playing on NTSC, are we? Thankfully, I found my own way in. First, kill the Battler on the right to prevent him from interfering, but keep the left one alive so they don't respawn. Head to the lower platform on the right and do a boost jump to go out of bounds through the scaffolding. You'll then want to land on the solid part of the arena, but still partially out of bounds. You'll know you got it right if Carbon Crash exits the backpack on the right side of the wall. Now get Carbon Crash in the same position further ahead. If the Scorporilla starts targeting you, you're too far to the left and have to get back in the backpack. Once Carbon Crash sticks the landing, do a boost jump with him to go around the Uka barrier. Even if you don't quite land on the bridge itself, you should still hit the kill plane under it and respawn past the Uka barrier. Unfortunately, that skip put a massive dent in our Brat kill count, and they're an extremely finite resource. The only viable farming spot is inside the Doominator, where you'll have to use Death Abuse to respawn them. There's exactly 6 Brat Girls in this area, and once you kill all 6, you can never get any more. And you won't get another chance to go for the gold medal because the final boss is impossible. Destroying all 3 gears is how we beat the game, and only the Arachnina can accomplish it. Nina outranks the other bosses both in title and defense, taking barely any damage from Crash's heavy attacks. If we want to jack her directly, we're gonna need some extra firepower. There is a free jack mask just before the boss arena, but the timer is too short to make it in time. Luckily, there's a way to postpone the timer that's exclusive to the Wii version. The Wiimote cursor is still active even if the corresponding player is in the backpack. If a backpacked player collects a free jack mask, its timer won't start until they jump out. This allows us to preserve the free jack during the cutscene and take out Nina in one hit. Just like with Uka though, we'll be forced off the boss if we're still riding it when a gear breaks. You can still dismount as the gear breaks to instantly remount her, but because her attacks move so fast, the timing is practically frame perfect, and you have to pull it off twice in a row. Unfortunately, due to my lack of gaming skill, I wasn't able to pull it off once in my 7 hours of attempts, which meant I had to jack Nina twice more without access to the free jack. Thankfully, it is still just barely possible to stun Nina without it. Bait her into attacking one player, then approach with the other using only heavy attacks. If you don't take more than one step at a time, she won't notice you're there. Once you're right next to her, repeatedly shake the Wiimote and mash Z to spam gyro jackhammers, slowly but surely whittling down Nina's health until she's ready to be jacked again. Once the first 2 gears are destroyed, use the laser on the third to officially end the run. With the Doominator dismantled just in time for pancakes, the Crash of the Titans Titanless run ends with a final score of 6 jacks. And if you're good at video games, you could theoretically get this down to 4 or even 3 jacks. But we're not quite done yet. Remember the Mojo Room in episode 15? By beating episode 20 in hard mode, we unlocked the free kick, allowing us to one-hit KO almost every single enemy just by pressing the 1 button. This allows us to kill the enemies in this Mojo Room much faster, banking our final blue doll. Our final completion totals are 20 gold medals, 13 blue dolls, 20 pink dolls, 9 enemy info pages, 7 skins including Halloween and Valentine, 27 upgrades, and 83% completion. 83.5 if you want to be a nerd about it. Special shout out to speedrunner BaconMan12, whose second place any percent run I used as reference. I reference his run and not the world record because Bacon Man was actually playing on PAL. You can check out the livestream archives for this run in the description if you want to watch how it played out in real time. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss Mind Over Mutant. That's all for now, and I will see you down under.